My visit today is from a building safety point of view, but we still carry out the same checks as regular property management inspections. So one of the key things we're looking at today is our resident engagement strategy. So we've got some additional notices that we're going to put up for residents so they can notify us whether they've got any PEEP, personal evacuation requirements, and also offers them a person-centered fire risk assessment. So they can just scan the QR code. That detail then comes through to the office and we can include that in the fire risk assessment for the building. So we've got two bits of tech that we use. One is our bespoke site inspection app, which feeds into our internal systems. And the other is our risk management software, which we can use mobile. Reason for that is to capture the digital golden thread of information. So we're just going to check that there are no faults on any of the fire equipment. So we've got smoke ventilation system in here. Obviously we're checking the panels for any faults. And then we're going to note on the building exactly what types of fire equipment is present. All of that will form part of our building safety case for the higher risk buildings, this one being 21 stories high. Checking in the riser cupboards, fire safety equipment, lifts, signage, all that kind of stuff as we go through the building. Hoping we can take the lift to the top floor. So we'll check each of these riser cupboards on each floor, just looking for any breaches in the compartmentation floor to floor or horizontally into the ceiling voids. So we're looking to check that we've got at least 3 hinges, no significant gaps around the door, it fits in the frame, and here we've got smoke seals as well. And then we're also checking tagged with an asset tag that will link back to existing reports. Just take the lift back down to ground. So contractor's details are in the lift, and also an emergency procedure. So I'm just going to check there isn't anybody waiting for this lift right now. And then we're just going to hold in the alarm. So the alarm is called through, call handling answered. We just explained that we're testing the lift alarm. They know that the lift is okay and the alarm is working as it should, and they can hear us loud and clear. So, okay. So all of our crucial site information is stored digitally, so we can access that from mobile. So that's codes for padlocks, areas of the building that we might need to access. So we can use the systems and we can raise jobs directly from site. So I'm just going to get the code for this box just so I can check that all of the floor plans for the fire service are in here and up to date and accurate. Okay, so in here we have full set of site keys. We have got personal evacuation plan for a resident who would need additional support in an emergency, and then fire safety plans of the building for the fire service. So this details exactly where firefighting equipment is, the layout of each floor, so that the watch commander can pick that up. So in here this will show us exactly which block is which, the number of stories in each block, whether it's retail or residential, where the zones are within the fire detection, and it'll show also the compartmentation between each compartment, and then where firefighting equipment is placed. So that's a requirement under Fire Regulations England 2022, and they're now in place in the premises information box. These buildings as a single building, because they're interconnected, they share means of escape. So there's a number of registrations with the building safety regulator across this development. So part of what we're doing today is to capture that key building information ready for the safety case report to be produced. I'm gonna go this way. So dry riser outlets. We saw in the other block that they don't have a cabinet, they're just in the stairwell. Typically we would see the cabinet locked and signed, and that will refer back to the plans of the location of the fire equipment for fire services. So these particular blocks are interlinked by the underground car park. Within here is bin stores, obviously resident parking, bike stores, and plant and equipment, including booster pumps that serve the apartments above. So we're just going to check some of that equipment while we're here. So immediately there are combustible materials stored down here that shouldn't be here. There's one that we'll flag with the property management team. It is already in our existing fire risk assessment to be picked up and resolved in the next. We're seeing more and more of electronic vehicles, so obviously they give an increased source of ignition, increased fire risk. So where we're expecting this door self-close, so that isn't doing its job because this hinge has dropped, so that will need a new hinge as a minimum. It needs to be packed out against the frame so that these doors close flush. Obviously the bin store is one of the areas we are likely to experience a fire. Okay. So in this building, we've got waiting watch patrol as a temporary measure, but the underground car park is on evacuation anyway, so residents are advised if there's a fire within here to exit via the nearest exit, which is clearly signed, and to call the fire brigade immediately. In here we've got car park extraction system, so we won't carry out any testing on that as property managers, but it will be in a service contract with a competent person to make sure that's maintained and doing its job effectively. Not too bad, not too bad. Just a few safety checks and stuff today. So we just check out the plant room, and then we've got residents meeting this evening. Thank you very much. Okay. Pop on a light down here. So down here, it'll be a little noisy. So we've got booster pumps that feed the apartments above. Yeah. Obviously signs here that there's some sort of leak, whether that's from the pumps or the tanks next door. So we'll note this for our site inspection, but given that there's water actively here, we'll call the contractor now and arrange someone to attend. Obviously, if the pumps fail, that leaves all of the apartments above without access to water, so critical that we get that looked at immediately. So just call the property manager, make sure that we've got a contractor available. Just let concierge know contractor is booked in. Hello. Yeah, contractor is going to give either me or you guys a call. There'll just be a call out, and then if there's any works to follow, they'll send the quote through. Regarding the lift, do you want me to call the lift contractor and give them a nudge?
I've called Deltron for the Olympian one because that's just gone down, but I don't know how long they're going to be for the ankle one.
Okay. Cool. We need, because they're higher risk buildings, if the lift, is it the firefighting lift, the right hand or the left hand lift? Left hand isn't the firefighting one, is it? Okay.
The Naperville lift one, we've reported it a few times that the hand winding doesn't work. the auto dialer doesn't work.
So what the lift contractor's talking about is the auto dialer. So when we tested the lift line earlier, that auto dialer calls the lift contractor to say that the lift is stuck and there's an entrapment. And what he's saying is that the other lift, the auto dialer isn't calling out. So that's obviously a risk for us. We can't have that lift in service because if someone gets trapped, they're not going to be able to contact the lift contractor. Likelihood is they call 999 and the fire brigade have to come out and get them out of the lift, causing damage to the lift at the same time. So no issue with the firefighting lift at this time, just
That one? No.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Obviously we've got a requirement to report any outage on firefighting lifts if it can't be fixed within 24 hours, so if that one's in service, that's fine. We'll get this one fixed as soon as we can. Local authority have issued us a notice to obviously do the remediation for the external walls, make the building safe, and we've invited them to the meeting this evening. But it's kind of the purpose for the meeting this evening is resident engagement and stakeholders, making sure we got all the right parties in the right place, and evidencing to them that we're doing what we can to mitigate the risk. Thank you for coming out. So my name's James Capper. I'm the head of building safety for Centrick, who obviously the managing agent for New Central. So just by way of introduction, with Keith from Fire and Rescue Service, just here to answer any questions around the interim measures that we've put in place, the safety of the building, the fire brigade response, and we'll get to that shortly. Virtually, we've got Simon from Barrett Developments, going to talk through remediation, where we are now, cost implications, all that kind of stuff. And then our own property management team, so is myself, Laura Ritchie, who is operations manager for this region. Paul Taylor on the end is operations director for the south, and then the property manager, Lisa Magnus, for New Central, specifically your property manager, so these are kind of day-to-day queries. So we want to try and keep broadly to the agenda around building safety and what's happened recently to kind of bring everybody up to speed, because we appreciate that's a significant change. Wake and Watch has appeared on site, all this kind of stuff. The main reason is Building Safety Act now requires a resident engagement strategy. So Section 156 of the Building Safety Act came in 1st of October. Any decisions that we take around fire safety, significant changes to the building, that kind of thing, we have to allow a resident's voice, if you like. So that's why we're here today, really, is to sort of answer any questions you might have and try and explain what the plan is moving forward and how the risk is being mitigated temporarily.
Thank you for the slide pack that was sent out this morning. That was very helpful. Look forward to more of that engagement. I noticed in that we also talked about the new fire alarm system, the siting of heat detectors by rooms with outward facing walls. Can someone say a bit more about the timing of that, how it's going to be organised amongst us? I'd be interested to know.
Thank you. So Centrick arranged a pre-planned meeting with Keith, fire inspector. So we were alerted by AESG, who are the fire engineers carrying out the FRAEWs, and they said, we think this is going to be widespread across the other blocks that we haven't got to yet. There is no current fire alarm. You're on a stay put situation, so the apartments are designed to contain fire. When we add in the potential for a fire to spread externally, that means that a stay put policy isn't suitable. So we've had to move to an evacuation strategy in consultation with fire service, and we've obviously had to put Wake and Watch in as a temporary interim measure to alert the fire floor and evacuate. The plan is then to stand down the Wake and Watch and have an L5, which is a risk-specific alarm, which would be a heat detector in each apartment. Lisa and the site team We'll be arranging, at Barrett's cost, Barrett will be funding the alarm. We'll have afternoon, evening, morning or afternoon appointments. Obviously there is a lot of apartments to get into, so the plan is that we will go block by block, because once a block is complete and alarmed, the waking watch can stand down, and that just remains then on a evacuation. So we'll be moving that through. I don't know, Keith, whether you wanted to talk around the strategy at the moment on evacuation and the fire service response.
Obviously, the current fire strategy, Keith Nicholas from Surrey Fire and Rescue Service. I'm the local fire safety inspector, and unusually within the Fire and Rescue Service, I remember and was part of the build of the development. So I've got a lot of knowledge around the development when it was built. Obviously, it's always been built as a stay put policy in the event of a fire, so that you would stay in your flat if the fire was in any other part of the building apart from your own individual flat. You would evacuate and everybody else would stay in the building. Obviously, with the change in evacuation strategy based on the information that has been initially received, the managing agents came to us and said, we've got this problem, how can we do, what can we do to put it right? We had a meeting on site with Barrett's and colleagues from Centrick, the managing agents, and they've put together a package around fire alarm systems, but with an initial waking watch being put in across the development, and then the fire alarm systems in each individual flat to alert the particular blocks that there is an issue. All right, so, and it would only be that individual block that would evacuate. Obviously, Nankyville, you're aware it's quite a drawn out block, and you can walk from one part of it to another. That will be classified as one whole block rather than just particular sections of it. The plan itself that Barrett's and your managing agents have come up with is sound at this moment in time. It's what we've done across other developments within the county. Across other developments within the county that have had issues raised with external wall issues. Barrett's timeline, again, is a feasible timeline for them to do the works. As you would have all seen, the development across the road had the scaffolding up and down. It's had exactly the same sort of works done on it as what you would expect. You know how long the scaffolding was up and down on that particular development. As part of the fire safety package that has been put together, we also have increased our predetermined attendance of fire appliances. So we will now send to all confirmed fires 9 fire appliances and an aerial ladder and the necessary support appliances for that incident. And that's for all confirmed fires across the development until all of the works have been completed. All right, so it's 4 or 5 years plus down the line from our point of view. We've got all the necessary plans and information currently from the development on all of our frontline fire appliances that's available to all of the crews, and all of the local crews, both in Woking, Guildford and Cobham, have all been down to the site and are planning on coming back down to the site to refresh themselves firsthand with the layout across the development.